Hello everybody, I'm Matt and welcome to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Superman issue 29 by Joshua Williamson, Dan Mora and Alejandro Sanchez. Superman's mission to stop Darkseid's Absolute Legion reaches a surprising point as Superboy-Prime regales Superman, Time Trapper and us with his history, refreshing us on who he was as just a normal kid named Clark Kent until he got superpowers at the end of a crisis, leading to him trying to become Superman and it ending very, very badly. After he died a hero during the events of Death Metal, he was reborn in a world of his own where his friends and family were alive and he kept his powers, which all led him there to his hotly anticipated team up with Superman. Williamson doesn't mess around with Prime here and gets right into who he is for new readers and also keeps his fourth wall breaking quips intact, since he's talking more so to us rather than Superman. Clark is angry the villain is there since he killed good people, but Prime reminds him that technically they died several reboots ago, so they are actually still alive and well thanks to said reboots. Trapper finally reveals that Superboy-Prime is an anomaly outside of the known timeline and the Legion will not be prepared for him, and while Superman will hesitate to do what is needed, Prime will not. Trapper begins to disappear, telling the heroes that he is needed elsewhere and this is all just the beginning of a game, one that will come with many sacrifices. So I get why Trapper has to be vague here, you can't just dump all of the plot all at once. But Trapper has been so vague to the point where it feels like it's being written that way on purpose just in case things down the line change. We're keeping everything vague just so we're not settling on one specific thing happening when, I don't know, maybe editorial wants something else to happen or the writer figures out a way to do it a different way or something like that. That's what it feels like it's doing, which in one case it's very smart, but in the other case it leads to stuff like this where you still don't really know what's really happening here. It's just been a lot of vague things is gonna happen in the future and maybe it's going to be bad, maybe it's going to be good, who knows. Superman asks Prime how they get to the 31st century from here and Prime is glad he asks, punching the timeline into pieces, just like he did back in Infinite Crisis. I love Dan Mora actually had the comic panels, the characters ring cracking. It's a great fun visual gag. I love it when they do stuff like that with the panels where characters interact with the confines of the panel they are in. Superboy-Prime says that the timeline is being watched, so they'll need to take a different route into the 31st century, telling Superman to get Silver Age with it. The duo fall through a timeline, finding that it's quite a mess as Superman asks Prime if he knows who Booster Gold is, being that he can't remember him thanks to what Darkseid did to their timeline. Prime knows that a priority is finding Booster, seeing he is the greatest of the superheroes and they need to save him quickly. Superman feels Prime is being rather nonchalant about this, and that's because Prime is a big comic book nerd, so of course he knows what's going to happen with the Legion ambushing them at some point, and just when they are beaten, legions from all possible futures will turn up for a massive 2-page spread where they will all team up against the Legion and fight Darkseid. So this is why I really liked the inclusion of Prime in these stories, since it means the writers can't do the obvious big picture action stuff because they have a character who, if they're going to adhere to his canon and how he has been written in the past, will know this stuff will happen. So they can't do that sort of stuff anymore because then that leads to plot holes and everything with the character. So I like that this is being used in a way where Williamson is citing that these things can happen and probably will happen, but we're not going to do that stuff right away. We're going to go to do other stuff first. Williamson immediately proves this by revealing the 31st century, which is a death-filled ruin, thanks to the heroes arriving after the giant 2-page spread that Prime mentioned just before, with the area littered with the corpses of various legions of superheroes. Superman finds the body of Saturn Girl as Superboy recognizes this particular Saturn Girl and the several colossal boys around them, figuring whatever is happening in Superman's present day is making all of this around them his 31st century and his future. I quite like how jealous Prime gets in this moment as he recounts some of Superman's earlier meetings with the Legion and how they found him as Superboy and how they brought him to the future and showed him how he would be a beacon of hope and have all of this sort of pressure put on him. Stuff that we have seen in the past is what Prime wanted to be. He wanted to be that Superman but couldn't, and because he couldn't do that, he became a petulant child. He's also really bummed that he missed the big 2-page spread, and that kind of angers Superman as he has to remind him that these people he is calling characters aren't characters to him, they're his friends, they're people he grew up with. Superman realizes that Prime was sent along with him by Trapper since he would kill the Legion when Superman wouldn't. But their confrontation is interrupted by Cosmic Boy, who tells them that all that is left of them now is to bury the dead. Clark reunites with his friend, asking Rock what happened, and the Legionnaire wants to show them, but they will have to walk since their flight ring network does not work anymore. I quite like how Williamson is using futures, possible futures, and time here, where the Legion we know and love haven't been corrupted by Darkseid. That is a possible future for that Legion. So the Legion themselves are still around. We still get the Legion that we know and love, but we also get this new Absolute Legion as well. Whereas I thought it would have been the opposite, where he's gone and taken that Legion from their actual future and poisoned them in some way. And I guess he did do that, and that's what created like the stem in the timeline there, where we can have the normal Legion and this evil Legion. And it also helps even the battlefield a little bit more, because now the Superman has a bit more help outside of Superboy-Prime on the battlefield. I also want to point out that this is the exact same Legion that Brian Michael Bendis brought back and was using there for a time, so it's cool that we're getting a continuation of that future and possible future here. Cosmic Boy takes the heroes to a safe house where more Legion members also arrived and are happy to see Superman. Dawnstar says that Gold Lantern, Kinetex, Polar Boy and her stayed behind to keep an eye on Darkseid's army, since they've taken up refuge in the Time Institution. However, Superman's reunion with his friends quickly turns sour when they notice Superboy-Prime is with Superman. They demand to know why he is there, since he's killed many of them before, but Cosmic Boy calms the team down since they need both Supermen to help with their plan, wanting to share Brainiac's mission with them. Superman goes to meet Brainiac, or should I say Brainiacs, who reveal that they have captured one of Darkseid's forces, a Brainiac from a world created by Darkseid, with his cells infused with chaos energy because of it. So this is a lot to kind of take in. We've got multiple Brainiac 5s here, which we saw before, which I always love. I always love when we get to see Brainiac 5, but they're also got a Darkseid created Brainiac, which does that mean that this is the absolute Brainiac we've been seeing in Absolute Superman, or what like he will become in that world's future, because it looks completely different and is like a robot version, or is there multiple universes that Darkseid has created and the Absolute is the only one we've seen so far? Does he have others up his sleeve that we have not been privy to yet? Because they made it quite known that he created his own world, his own universe, and I took that as singular, as in just the Absolute universe. So many questions are here, and you know, so many theories are running through my head right now. Like, is this Absolute Brainiac? Is this another Absolute Brainiac that we have yet to see from a different world we haven't seen? So many cool things happening here. The Brainiacs want to lobotomize the Absolute Brainiac so they can learn more about him, but Prime doesn't think that a room full of people who all think they are the smartest in that room is going to do them any good, and they are all but doomed. The PTSD-ridden Starman agrees, telling the heroes the future is dead and hope is gone and all that is left is torture. He reveals that the Darkseid Legion come from a world where they never had Superman to show them the way and inspire them. They had Darkseid instead. Prime tries to not have Superman listen to a second-rate hero like Starman, but Superman helps his friend up, telling him that they have had lots of adventures together and are part of a long legacy of heroes, one that goes back to before even Superman was around and endures through the past, present, and future. He tells the gathering heroes that the future is unwritten and they all still have a chance, since even in the darkest hour, every bit of light is capable of defeating darkness. Superman's speech girds the heroes who want to know what their mission is, and Superman tells them they're going to find Booster Gold. I love a good speech from Superman that inspires the heroes or people around him, and Williamson has done a really fucking good job here of giving him one. It's a really great one that's couched in legacy and shared history with these legions, which when you look at it, when you compare it to like the Absolute world that they're on the Absolute world that we've seen, it's something that Darkseid has stripped away from Superman. He's stripped away all of that legacy and reverence and everything, and is trying to run him through everything known to man just to try and break this hero over in the Absolute Superman book, and it's not working. It's coming close, but it's not working so far. Superman has not been giving up to the needs of Ra's al Ghul or anything like that when they want him to kill or anything like that. So I like that even on that darker world, Darkseid's plan, while is overall working, is starting to crack a little bit. And I like that we get to see that here with Superman, where he has had that legacy and the reverence and gone through the history and everything, and he's using that as a weapon against Darkseid. The heroes begin their mission and move through the destroyed city to the Time Institute, where the villains are holed up and use the time devices inside illegally to access the time stream, hence why Saturn Girl was able to come and find Superman. Prime asks why they haven't just killed Booster Gold yet, and Superman wants to go and find out, telling the heroes to be cautious since this could all be a trap. However, the Legion don't know he and Prime are there, so they might have the element of surprise. Prime suddenly has what he calls a case of nerd brain, citing why was Cosmic Boy using a shovel to dig graves earlier when he's got magnetic powers and could just use that. Cosmic Boy suddenly shapeshifts, revealing him to be the Darkseid Legion version of Chameleon, who kills Brainiac 5 as he gloats about Superman not getting the element of surprise on them. He says that they don't want to kill the hero, they want it to break his spirit. Again, like I said before, that's something we've been seeing with the Absolute Superman. That's been like a big thing for him. They need to break Superman in that world, but it's not working, and I guess that's what they want to do as well with this Superman. They just keep trying it over and over again until it works, which is also, when you think about it, maybe some sort of meta commentary on writers and heroes, and how like there's that cyclical nature of stories, how this one feels very the same as this one, or this feels very familiar. There's that deja vu with stories overlapping. Maybe it's a little bit of a meta commentary on stories like that. Chameleon shifts into a form that Superman will know him by, the kind face of a friend, knowing that Superman wouldn't hurt a friend. Luckily, Superboy-Prime would, punching the villain straight in the face and across the city. Superman uses the moment to find Brainiac 5, who manages to tell the hero that it's okay he's dying, since his final act of heroism was with the Legion and was with Superman. Superman becomes enraged by his friend's death, speeding out of hiding and into the Time Institute, demanding Darkseid show himself and fight him. Superman's invasion of the building brings him to Booster Gold, who is glad to see his friend got his message. Clark, however, still doesn't remember Booster, making Michael lament how everything must be really messed up if they can't remember him. He warns Superman that he shouldn't be there since he's seen what Darkseid has planned for them, and it's beyond anything they've ever dealt with before. Superman still doesn't remember who Booster is thanks to Darkseid erasing his memory, so Booster fills him in on how he joined the Justice League and volunteered to go through the rift Darkseid's death caused on the Watchtower, which is where he was shot out into a future and captured by the evil Legion. Boy, this issue is doing quite a fair few recaps and refreshes on who's in the story, what this character is, what they've done before, and I can't fault Williamson for doing that, since there is a lot happening, and maybe people haven't been reading Absolute, or maybe people didn't read the DC All In or Justice League or anything like that. They might just be reading this, so I can understand why you've got to catch people up, but there is a lot to catch up on since the last time we saw Booster. Booster reveals that he evaded the Legion for 2 whole years before being captured when he tried helping the other Legions who were attacking. Superman wants to get Booster home to their world, but Saturn Girl and the Absolute Legion arrive, reminding Superman that the future is Darkseid's. It's only a matter of time before the past and present are as well. Again, these Legion members mention that they keep wanting Superman left alive, and as I mentioned before, I think that's got to do something with like breaking his spirit, and like how they're doing that with the Absolute Superman as well. That's going to be like Darkseid's shtick, where like each hero is going to have something that he wants to like break in them before they die. We've seen it as well over in like Green Lantern, the Absolute Green Lantern book and the Absolute Batman book, where he's like putting particularly those two characters through the ringer, especially Hal Jordan and Batman. They are going through the ringer in those Absolute books, and that is because of their relation to Darkseid as well. You know, Batman obviously shot and killed Darkseid in Final Crisis, and Hal Jordan has had a fair few run-ins alliances with the New Gods, and the Lantern Corps is something that has often come to the aid of the heroes to stop Darkseid, so I could see him not wanting them around at all. So I like that we're getting this idea that the villain just doesn't want to kill the heroes. He wants to do some other things before he eventually gets to killing the heroes. Superman is ready for whatever Darkseid has in store for him, but is blasted in the back by heat vision as the Legion move in to secure Booster Gold, blasting him with Lightning Lad's power. Superman meanwhile is captured by, and this isn't really a big shock to anyone, but Superboy-Prime, who says that he knows they lost, so he decided to join the winning side. So I saw this coming a mile off, and I'm sure everyone did. Superboy-Prime betraying Superman, but also with Williamson doing all of that stuff earlier, with Prime mentioning how obvious the story would get, maybe there is something there, like maybe he's going to betray the Legion, or in some way this is his plan to get close to them or something, because they expect him to be evil. I was surprised that the betrayal came so early. I thought it was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen in basically the first issue of their team up. But I'm excited to see where Williamson is taking Prime and his character going forward. Superman issue 28 was a chock-full issue of setup for the Absolute Universe and DC's upcoming event, DC KO. There's lots happening here with Superboy-Prime being involved. Booster Gold makes an appearance finally, and luckily Williamson had the foresight to actually write in small little refreshers for each of these things happening that maybe you don't know what's happening with Superboy-Prime, or what happened to Booster Gold, or this Absolute Legion. He's got you covered throughout this entire issue. Makes it very new reader friendly, accessible as well. I love what they're doing as well with Superman, with the whole breaking down his spirit idea. It's something we've seen over in the Absolute Superman book quite a fair bit as well. I like that it's not just, oh, villain needs to kill hero. There's something a little bit more there, with Darkseid wanting to torture the hero a little bit more before going to the kill route. So I'm intrigued to see what Williamson has in store for Darkseid and what he plans on doing with Superman across this universe, the Absolute Universe, and however many other universes he has in store for us. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.